Dr. Castleberry here with part two of our COM 2143 Digital Media Literacy Asynchronous Lecture. We're looking at Q&A from the students, and we're winding down some questions from Justice. Going through here. Let me jump over to another question from Denise, page 50. People perceive media content as interpretive communities. That is, as part of families, unions, neighborhoods, churches, and the like. In such communities, there are opinion leaders who mediate how the other members interpret content. That's from page 50 of Denise's Popular Culture Introductory Perspectives, 3rd edition. Follow-up question: how can we trust what we are being told in the media? Do we even have our own real thoughts and opinions, or are we simply jumping the bandwagon with popular beliefs of others that we are supposed to trust? Okay, so yeah, exactly. A person in this very volatile and contentious era of social media outrage that we currently find ourselves in, you take in enough of that, and it's easy to fall into those traps of doubt and paranoia, and that this is strategic by design by those that have the most antagonistic voices. Okay, right? Their goal, their objective, is to shout conspiracy and shout negativity at you to create that sentiment within the listener. Okay, so over time, to repeat that type of narrative is to, whether or not we are conscious of it, implant, right, those seeds of concern or doubt, right, or fear or what have you. And this is where, if you all can think back to 2016, that election cycle, there was a lot of people writing and talking about the term gaslighting. Okay, this idea of gaslighting, of indoctrinating certain ideas about a person, an individual, a thing, a concept, a position, a proposal, a culture, a society, that frame it in one way when as part of a strategy. Okay, and we do have such thing as, while not every problem can be solved by hard science, we have developed tools, okay, over time, and education is one of those tools to help us better navigate and understand this world, the things in it, the people therein. And there are laws of reality that are based or agreed upon, okay? And there are verifiable facts. And even if you have disagreements in terms of belief sets, right? Religious beliefs versus, alternative religions or non-religious belief sets, there are still shared components that we have that allow us to still connect and to still locate little t truths, right? And so it's always great to pause, breathe, and remind ourselves, hey, sometimes we're just caught in a vicious media cycle. And I think that's one reason why, if we've been noting this, sometimes we use that example of InfoWars, sort of conspiracy theory laden radio simulcast show by performance artist Alex Jones. We've now seen a lot of outlets stake a flag in the sand and say no more. Okay, we certainly allowed you to use our media platform for mutual benefit, right? For mutual gain. We were getting millions of views. You were getting the ad revenue, and it was okay so far as we weren't taking it too far, so far as it was that infotainment type of thing. But when the negative messagery was leading to actual antagonistic social action, there was a point in which we could now identify this text as a harmful piece of discourse, right? So they can elect to remove it, which several leading companies have now done with InfoWars. So, shocking revelation this week. Okay, let's jump to a question from Simone on Linda Spencer's regarding Linda Spencer's writing in the 21st century. The chapter 2 emphasized grammar, clarity, clarity, clarity. What are 3 examples of different dictionaries that are current and reliable to help when writing essays? Okay, and so this is we're just talking about relativity, and I'm going to further blur these lines. Dictionaries as this hard form thing is a little bit out of vogue now. Okay, in fact, just a couple of years ago, the Encyclopedia Britannica series ceased its print volumes for the first time since its beginning, and that was kind of a big deal then. But they're still out there. But of course, we can go to apps and websites as well as the hardbound, but most likely internet-based Merriam-Webster, Dictionary.com, and you're always going to get some accurate information from those sites. I don't know that they necessarily can define everything for you, but you're even this app. The technology is so advanced that you've even got the voice options to see how words are pronounced in simulated form. But something else to think about, I used to keep a tab of this open all the time. In grad school, I think it can slow down some browsers, but thesaurus.com, great place to go, increase the vernacular, right? Expound upon your linguistic skills. So those are a couple of options. In the portal, in the MacU portal page, we have those tiles, right, where you can click to go to D2L, click to access your email account, the one login page. There is a tile that gets us over to our online library, but also one of our library's prominent resources that is really good for undergraduate purposes is the Britannica resource area. Okay, so this is an updated software in conjunction with what we formerly referred to as Encyclopedia Britannica. There's another source for us to consider. Thinking about examining popular culture from Danisi, what is the semiotic approach of oppositional theories in pop culture? Okay, and so when we're talking about semiotics, we're referring to, broad definition here, the study of signs and symbols. All right, and this is one of those interdisciplinary areas, right? It is of interest to the kinds of scholars that study rhetoric. It is of interest to people that study marketing and advertising, semiotics that is, and semiotics speaks to a group of thinkers we refer to as structuralists or structural anthropologists. Okay, so it can be approached in many different ways, of which oppositional theory is one that Danisi talks about. Oppositional theory is one of the most useful theories that we can have when we are examining popular culture, because so many of our ideas are constructed upon oppositional qualities. Okay, right versus wrong, good versus bad, or good versus evil, light versus dark. And these are the easy ones, the obvious things in our society. Okay, they're encoded into culture, and those types of oppositional qualities date back thousands and thousands of years. All right, so they are hardwired into the way we think and perceive reality. And so a couple of additional ways in which I think in U.S. culture we institutionalize oppositional thinking at a very young age can include the game of red light, green light, right? Stop, go. These types of qualities, they are part of the rules of keeping us safe in certain conditions, learning how to respond to instructions or directions, minimize traffic collisions, but but they are also about encoding our understanding of how oppositions work, right? Red, green, stop, go. Even something like the Star Wars, right? Very, very easy to understand. Denisi talks about the Sith Lords versus the Jedi. Here we go. The green lightsaber versus the red lightsaber. But notice how those colors even get sort of problematized over time as we introduce additional, wands of light, of lava light, or whatever. I don't have the indexical knowledge of the particles they use there. Let's ask a follow-up question. Okay, about an example we have of oppositional theory in play. And so we pulled a TV recap of an episode from the first season of Netflix's Stranger Things. All right, so episode 3, titled Holly Jolly. First question, how does this TV show relate to the examination of popular culture? Like, what up with that? Why are we reading this all of a sudden in this course? And this recap helps. It examines popular culture and recaps. It plays with this, with this text's use of oppositional theory as part of its storytelling structure, and so that's why that recap works for us. And then it's accessible. Okay, it was a free resource, but also that's a text that's very circulated right now. People talk about it, tweet about it, post about it. It seems to be, in the cultural stream of the moment. So perhaps it was accessible for some of you. And how do you feel about the author's explanation of this episode in the recap? How do I feel about this author's explanation of that episode of Stranger Things? It's worth revisiting that perspective. It's worth it, maybe for a book or something like that, right? Maybe there's some ideas in that recap or others to expound upon in a larger project. Okay, wink. We also had a video about Jean Baudrillard and some basic ideas and concepts, specifically simulacrum. Many of you commented on that, and it's brought up in this text and other texts we have. How does simulacra relate to popular culture? Okay, this is a great question. And it's simple answer that gets at a complex reality, and that is that pop culture is made of copies of copies with no remembrance of the original. Right? Sometimes we know where an idea came from, but oftentimes we think we know, and then it was some other idea, some other story that dates back even further than that. Okay, so and that's at the heart of what Baudrillard is theorizing is we get into these spaces of not only replicating ideas over and over and over again, but getting kind of locked into what he calls hyperreality. Okay, this sense of something is more real than real, or we become inundated with entertainment, distractions of our own making, and then it becomes maybe easy to lose track of the real or natural qualities, if we can identify those at all. Okay. And give an example of the real and imaginary and how people relate to simulacra and this theory. Okay, so something that stands, and we're talking about the real, like quotation marks real, something that stands in for authentic, like it appears to be authentic, but it's also produced. And this got me thinking about something like Legoland or a quote-unquote safari ride. All right, safaris in general. The safaris are called safaris, but they're not safaris, right? They're indicative of something we identify as safari, but that in of itself is perhaps a lost idea. More to come. Stick tight.